Making headlines, President says workers are the driving force behind the Maldives' progress and the key to achieving its future aspirations. The Maldives joins 10 other countries in condemning the Israeli military's interception of the Global Smooth Flotilla, a convoy of vessels carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza. And President announces a specialized mental health hospital will be developed in the Male region, outlining a series of measures to strengthen the country's healthcare system, specifically mental health.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to PSM News in English with me, Abdullah Ahil. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz says workers are the driving force behind the Maldives' progress and the key to achieving its future aspirations.
In a message shared on social media to mark International Workers' Day, the President extended his greetings to workers across the country, recognizing their contributions to national development. He stated that every individual who works, whether to support themselves and their families or to serve the nation, deserves respect and recognition. He described workers as dedicated contributors whose efforts continue to shape the country's growth. The President noted that the progress seen in the Maldives today is the result of the labor and commitment of its workforce, adding that the same workforce will play a central role in realizing the hopes and ambitions of the Maldivian people in the future. He also expressed appreciation for the efforts of workers across all sectors, thanking them for their continued service. International Workers' Day, observed annually on 1st May, was established by the International Socialist Workers' Congress in 1889. The date commemorates labor protests linked to the Haymarket Affair in Chicago. In the Maldives, efforts to promote workers' rights date back several years. The day was officially recognized in 2006 and later declared a public holiday in 2011.
The First Lady of the Maldives, Sajida Mohammed, expresses appreciation for the sacrifices made by workers marking International Workers' Day. In a message shared on social media, she extended greetings and well wishes to Maldivian workers, acknowledging their contributions to the nation. The First Lady said workers in the Maldives are industrious individuals who have earned the respect of society. She noted that their sacrifices are recognized, adding that she continues to value the courage and perseverance demonstrated by the workforce. She also expressed gratitude for the role workers play in building a better future for the country. International Workers' Day is observed annually on the 1st of May to recognize the contributions of workers, promote labor rights, and encourage continued efforts across all professions. The Maldives joins 10 other countries in condemning the Israeli military's interception of the Global Smooth Flotilla, a convoy of vessels carrying humanitarian aid to Gaza.
In a joint statement issued alongside Brazil, Jordan, Pakistan, Spain, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Colombia, South Africa, Turkey and Libya, the Maldives expressed strong opposition to the obstruction of what it described as a peaceful humanitarian initiative. The foreign ministers of the participating countries said the flotilla was organized by civil society groups to draw attention to the worsening humanitarian situation in Gaza. They stressed that blocking such efforts was unacceptable. The statement further described the interception of vessels in international waters and the detention of humanitarian activists as serious violations of international law and international humanitarian law. It also noted that protections afforded to humanitarian workers under the Geneva Conventions had been disregarded. The countries expressed concern over the safety of those detained and called on Israeli authorities to ensure their immediate release. They also urged the international community to uphold its legal and moral obligations, including the protection of civilians and ensuring accountability for violations of international law. According to reports, Israeli naval forces intercepted the Global Sumud flotilla on Wednesday night in international waters, approximately 45 nautical miles from the Greek island of Crete and around 600 nautical miles from Gaza. More than 20 vessels were halted during the operation, with over 175 activists from multiple countries reportedly detained and taken to Israel. The Global Sumud flotilla, formed in mid-2025, is an international initiative aimed at delivering essential humanitarian supplies to Gaza, including food, medical equipment and infant formula, while challenging the ongoing blockade.
President Dr. Mohamed Muiz announces a specialized mental health hospital will be developed in the Malé region, outlining a series of measures to strengthen the country's healthcare system, specifically mental health.
Speaking during his weekly press briefing, the president said the facility will be funded through the state budget, with a 14,000 square foot plot of land already allocated for the project. The president highlighted the growing demand for mental health services, noting that more than 10,000 individuals sought treatment for mental health conditions between January and 24th April this year. Of these, over 8,000 were treated in Malé area. In addition to the hospital project, the government plans to submit a mental health bill to the People's Majlis this year. The president also announced plans for an anti-bullying bill which would criminalize bullying. The president also outlined progress in other sectors. On public finances, he said the Maldives has settled 2 major outstanding loans and repaid over $213 million owed to local businesses. In the healthcare sector, a state-owned pharmaceutical company has been established, with efforts underway to address challenges in medicine distribution and ensure regular access to medication for patients with chronic conditions. He added that construction of 4 general practice clinics in Malé region is expected to be completed within the next 3 to 4 months. The clinics will be located at the former Thalassemia Center in Hemveru, as well as in Hulmale Phase 1 and Phase 2. In the transport sector, the president said the Raja Transport Link ferry service will be expanded to the remaining 4 atolls within the next 3 to 4 months as part of efforts to establish a nationwide transport network.
Minister of Health, Family and Welfare Gila Ali says healthcare facilities across the atolls are facing significant challenges, including limited space and operational constraints.
Speaking on a PSM News program, the Health Minister Gila noted that in some islands, healthcare services are still being delivered from rented premises, while in others, existing health centers are unable to introduce new services due to space limitations. She said a substantial portion of essential healthcare infrastructure remains incomplete, with 159 development projects currently underway to address these gaps. The projects include the construction of 39 new hospitals and the expansion of 94 health centers to increase service capacity, as per the minister. In addition to infrastructure, she highlighted the need to strengthen human resources, particularly by increasing the number of Maldivians working in sectors where local participation remains low. Efforts to build workforce capacity are also ongoing, with approximately 1,700 employees joining the sector last year. A further 1,900 employees are expected to enter the workforce this year. The minister noted that healthcare development in the Maldives has historically focused on short-term solutions rather than long-term planning, criticizing it as unsustainable. She said the current approach aims to address these shortcomings by prioritizing sustainable expansion, particularly in response to space constraints. Work is also underway to reduce dependence on the Malé area for medical services. Over the past 2 years, several key services have been introduced to the atolls, including radiology services such as MRI, CT scans, X-rays and ultrasounds. Laboratory services are also being expanded, with plans to ensure basic testing is available on every island. The government aims to establish laboratories in 76 islands by the end of the year. In addition, dialysis services are being extended across the country as part of efforts to improve access to specialized care.
The government inaugurates the application window for the President Scholarship and the High Achiever Scholarship, introducing a transformative suite of policy shifts designed to grant students unprecedented academic autonomy and targeted fiscal support.
Prospective candidates may now submit applications for the academic cycle 2025 through the official Kudi portal, with the window remaining open until the conclusion of September 2026 to allow for rigorous educational planning. In what represents the most substantial modification to the program's framework, the President's Special Scholarship now grants recipients unrestricted liberty to pursue tertiary education in any academic discipline. This fundamental departure from previous constraints is a central element of the recently published regulations, and the expansion of academic freedom is being applied retroactively to include students who completed their A-level examinations last year. These curricular freedoms are paired with strategic financial incentives aimed at retaining the nation's premier academic talent. Students awarded the High Achievers Scholarship who elect to pursue studies locally will receive a supplementary allowance of $389 in addition to their standard stipend, a change implemented expressly to encourage high-performing students to remain in the country. In exchange for this robust state sponsorship, the updated regulations stipulate a mandatory public service commitment of 4 to 7 years. The policy further integrates provisions to streamline logistical arrangements and expand auxiliary support services for all participating scholars.
Thinadho City, the most populous island in Gaftal Atoll, continues to face travel challenges due to the lack of a fully functional jetty despite ongoing development efforts.
As a key hub within the atoll, Thinadho City accommodates a high volume of daily movement, with residents from surrounding islands travelling to access essential services such as healthcare, education and banking. The island's harbour, located near regional airports, receive numerous vessels each day. However, the absence of a proper boarding facility remains a major concern for travellers. Although successive administrations have developed and upgraded jetties in Thinadho, the current phase of redevelopment has been prolonged, resulting in continued inconvenience for both residents and visitors. The ongoing Thinadho Jetty development project includes renovation of the arrival area and the replacement of the roofed section of the pier. Work is also being carried out to upgrade electrical systems and reinstall water and sewage pipelines. The project is being implemented in 5 phases. Current works involve dismantling existing roof sheets, wooden structures and ceiling components to facilitate the construction of a new roof. In addition, new electrical wiring is being installed while water and sewage systems are being relayed. Final stages will include painting and structure with weather-resistant coating and completing remaining finishing works. Authorities say the upgraded jetty is expected to significantly improve accessibility and convenience for those travelling to and from Thinadho once completed.
The administration of President Dr. Mohamed Muiz is actively advancing a strategic framework to bolster the nation's small and medium-sized enterprises, most notably through the recent inauguration of the Maranga Market in Mafushi Kaf Atoll. A collaborative undertaking by the Mafushi Council, the Local Authority Company Limited, and the Business Centre Corporation, or BCC, the market serves as a dedicated platform for local entrepreneurs to commercialize their goods. Given Mafushi's standing as a cornerstone of the local tourism industry, government officials anticipate the initiative will yield substantial economic dividends for residents. The program officially commenced in April with 12 kiosks showcasing traditional Maldivian cuisine and artisanal art and crafts. Early participants lauded the project, characterizing the market as an invaluable opportunity for enterprises to elevate their commercial profile. Building on this momentum, a significantly expanded iteration is scheduled for the 10th of May to align with Children's Day. Organizers remain prepared to expand the number of available kiosks should vendor interest exceed current capacity for the May event. We are encouraging them to engage with our planned commemorative activities and fully participate in the market, Xiao added, noting the strategic intent to encourage broader business engagement through the occasion's significance. Insights into business news. Revenue at Italian luxury group Prada rises 3% at constant exchange rates in the first quarter, excluding the contribution of Versace, with double-digit sales growth in the Americas offsetting weakness in Europe and in the Middle East.
Group revenue totaled 1.4 billion euros in the January to March period, broadly in line with an analyst's consensus compiled by Visible Alpha. Sales accelerated in March in particular and continued to rise this month, excluding the impact of the Middle East crisis. Versace, which Prada acquired last year and is in the process of integrating and relaunching, contributed 143 million euros to quarterly revenue. The Italian group said that Versace will recently hire Peter Muglia as its new creative director, performed in line with expectations. Miu Miu, a smaller label that last year drove the group's revenue growth, slowed its pace and its sales rose by 2.4% in the quarter. Sales in the Middle East region dropped 22% due to the Iran war. The conflict also impacted other regions as tourists from the Middle East and Asia found it more difficult to travel.
Updates on international events. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres repeats a call for a reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and dialogue between the warring parties, warning that if the disruption caused by the closure dragged on through mid-year, global growth would fall to 2.5% and inflation rise to 5.4%.
The strait is a key route for global fertilizer supplies, and Guterres warned that these would run low and 32 million people would be pushed into poverty and 45 million more people would face extreme hunger. If severe disruptions persisted through the end of the year, Guterres told reporters at the UN in New York, inflation would skyrocket past 6%, growth plummet to 2%, and the world would be confronted with the specter of global recession.
The Middle East crisis is lumbering into its third month. Despite a fragile ceasefire, the consequences grow dramatically worse with each passing hour. I'm deeply concerned about the curtailment of navigational rights and freedoms in the area of the Strait of Hormuz, impeding the delivery of oil, gas, fertilizer, and other critical commodities, disrupting energy, transport, manufacturing, and food markets, and strangling the global economy.
Moving on to sports, Brian Buxton went 3 for 4 with a double, a homer, and an RBI, and the Minnesota Twins pulled away for a 7-1 win over the Toronto Blue Jays in Minneapolis.
Ryan Jeffers hit a 2-run homer for Minnesota, which won the opener of a 4-game series. Austin Martin, Josh Bell, and Luke Kershaw drove in 1 run apiece for the Twins. Dalton Varsho hit a solo homer for Toronto's lone run. Twins right-hander Bailey Ober limited the Blue Jays to 1 run on 4 hits in 6 innings. He walked 2 and struck out 2. Blue Jays right-hander Kevin Gausman allowed 4 runs on 4 hits in 5-2 by 3 innings. He also walked 2 and struck out 2. Toronto opened the scoring in the top of the 4th inning. Varsho belted a 397-foot solo shoot over the wall in right field for his 4th homer of the season and his first since April 14th. The Twins responded to take a 2-1 lead in the bottom of the 4th. Trevor Larnach drew a lead-off walk and Jeffers followed with a 2-run homer over the wall in left center field. Buxton continued his power surge in the sixth. He led off the inning with a solo shot to left centre field that marked his 8th homer of the season and his 5th homer in the past 9 games. The blast by Buxton made it 3-1 and the Twins added another run in the 6th to seize a 3-run lead. Martin ripped an RBI single to centre to drive in Larnach. Minnesota tacked on 3 more runs in the 8th to increase its advantage to 7-1. Buxton started the big inning with a single to centre. Jeffers reached on a fielder's choice ground ball that included a throwing error by Blue Jays third baseman Kazuma Okamoto, and Bell capitalized moments later with a single to make it 6-1. Keishel kept the scoring with a sacrifice fly to left to drive in Bell. Twins reliever Anthony Bander, Andrew Morris and Justin Topa combined to pitch 3 scoreless innings to preserve the victory for Ober.
Concluding with light news, NASA Administrator Jarek Isaacman hails the Artemis II mission as the opening act in America's return to the moon, calling it a great success.
NASA's nearly 10-day Artemis II mission marked the first crewed flight of the agency's multi-billion-dollar return to the moon program and sent astronauts farther from Earth than ever before. The mission was designed as a dress rehearsal for later flights, validating the systems needed to carry crews into deep space.
But when the main parachutes came out, I can tell you it was a ton of relief. That was a glorious moment, and a few moments later we splashed down in the Pacific Ocean, and that was when I just finally exhaled. People had been asking for 3 years, are you excited, are you excited? And when we splashed down, I think I tapped you on the arm and said, hey, guess what?
Now. I'm excited.
At a United Nations panel, the astronauts who were part of the mission paired Isaacman's message with a more personal reflection. Commander Reed Wiseman said the crew wanted to remind people that this world can still do something exceptionally well, while pilot Victor Glover said that in some moments in space, the only appropriate thing to say was 2028, as it faces growing competition from China, which plans a crewed lunar landing by 2030.
And that's all the news we have for today. We'll be back with any further updates. Until then, I'm Abdullah Ahil from BSM News.